Welcome back, guys. Last 4 weeks, we worked on the trunk of the body for the freestyle, right? I referenced that mid-season finale in the last video. Now, I'm sure you guys have been chomping at the bit. We're moving on to our arms. Today, we are gonna start that first week off of the second half of the freestyle series with the catch. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about what pulling is. Pulling, or the power phase, as I've probably referenced before, will continue to reference, is what we do underneath the water. Our legs are still our main engine, but we're adding upon that with what we do underwater that is purposeful in order to propel us forward. The catch portion is the first half of that power phase. The other half is the finish, which we'll get into next week. The first half is from where we enter all the way underneath us, trying to get a good, strong anchor underneath the water. Now let's talk about how to do that. First, post-entry, which we'll talk about the recovery and entry later on, we've got to focus on being able to have a nice high elbow catch. Now, what a high elbow catch is, most people think it's doing this right as we're underneath the water. Rather, it's focusing on digging that hand down and having the elbows pointed out towards the side walls. You want to have your hand out, get a good anchor, and really get that pull through. If I had my arms together, like we'll talk about in butterfly way down the road, is the power diamond. The power diamond is this, okay? We're in this angle, it's shaped a little bit like a diamond. Now in freestyle, it's just with one arm. So we're focused on getting that power diamond underneath the water. One thing I like to think about when I'm doing the catch is imagining that there is a glass wall down the middle of my body underneath the water. A good way to think about it and practice that is tracing your thumb along that glass wall. It shouldn't cross over, and it should not be out wide. We want to maintain that half of the diamond, thumb is tracing along the glass wall. Now, a couple things that people like to think about underneath the water is that we're taught from a young age is to do the cupping with our hands. Now, it's not necessarily wrong, but it might be putting a little bit more effort than we have to. We don't want to be all spread like this, but we also don't want to be cupped. If you look at the best in the world, Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky, Simone Manuel, Caleb Dressel, tons of examples. They're very relaxed, right? You want to have a nice relaxed hand because it'll increase the surface area and help you feel like you're not having to work quite as hard. Okay, so one of the things you want to think about is how can we be relaxed but purposeful. We're going to talk about that at length as we go along with this. Now that we're using our arms, there's one thing I do want to reference is shoulder health. How can we take care of our bodies to have longevity? Many people refer to swimming as one of the sports that has the most longevity because it's very low impact. You don't have a whole lot of stress on your joints when done correctly. That being said, there are a lot of easy ways to make mistakes. Crossing over underneath is one of those examples, crossing over that glass wall, because we're putting a lot of stress on our rotator cuff, putting a lot of labral stress going out too wide, swimming flat. You know, we talked about rotation last week and how important it is to open up our bodies to our catch. That still applies to on the weeks to come for freestyle. Another example is that high elbow too early and popping that elbow straight up out of the water during the catch. These are all things that are going to impinge our shoulders and make it uncomfortable for us to swim forward. So that's something to think about, something to focus on. If it feels wrong, it probably is. Listen to your bodies when you're doing the catch and when you're learning this. And if we can get a good, nice, high elbow power diamond underneath, we're gonna have a wonderful catch going forward. If you want a good baseline, go back to Perry's videos we talked about in propulsion, especially in the deep water videos. He's got that big jellyfish pull. This is different from that, but there are elements, right? Being purposeful and really anchoring our hands, learning how to feel the water. Swimming, for those of us that might not be as naturally coordinated, it really is a feel sport. So you've got to listen to how it feels for you. Everyone's body is different, but the more that we can be grounded on that nice underneath anchor, the easier swimming is going to be, and we're going to demonstrate that more with the drills in the back half of this video. Now, continuing on with the catch, which is the predecessor to the power phase, we're going to work a couple drills here. Now, I'm here with Rowan today. We're going to be working on engaging our back into our catch, focusing on shoulder health. I know I've broached it briefly. The most important thing is that we pull with our back, not our shoulders, because you're thinking about in the context of your entire body, you don't want to be pulling with just your arms. Your back is one of the biggest upper body muscles or groups of muscles. So being able to use that to help bolster our freestyle makes it a little bit more comfortable and will hopefully make you a little less injury prone. Now, you're probably wondering why I have this. This is something that my coach taught me when I was learning how to swim freestyle. It's something that has benefited me to this day. So when catching into the freestyle, you want to focus on rolling over this beach ball as opposed to just grabbing with your arm. A lot of people have a propensity to drop their elbows on their catch, thus not pulling very hard and putting a lot of stress on the upper arm as opposed to the back. So I want you to roll over the beach ball with your catch and then grab it with the high elbow. Nice. Now we're going to do that with the other arm. Rolling over, grabbing with the high elbow. We'll do it one more time. Rolling over, high elbow. Awesome. So the big focus is you want to anchor this way, not anchor that way, to be able to use the whole arm into our catch as opposed to just the upper arm and the hand again. Now, moving on to an actual drill while we're moving, we're going to work on what we call just elbow catch or high doggy paddle, where all you're going to be doing is pulling just from the elbow, focusing on the power diamond, which I talked about in the first half of the video, keeping the hands underneath the eyes, nice high elbow catch, and just alternating from arm to arm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome, whenever you're ready. You really want to focus on anchoring with that high elbow. Once again, if you're dropping your elbow down, then you're losing a lot of catch. It's the equivalent of just karate chopping your arm through the water. You're not getting a lot of surface area. The more we focus on initiation and catching with a high elbow, the more we're creating a good basis for the power phase that is going to come next, which is the remainder of the catch through the water. Awesome, great job. Now, once again, I cannot stress this enough. As somebody who's come from shoulder injuries myself, you want to do as much as you can to give yourself longevity. Swimming is already a sport that offers a lot of longevity because it's low stress. So, if we want to even prolong that, we should focus on mitigating the stresses that there are in the water. First and foremost is a high elbow catch. Power phase coming next. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe, share, ring the bell, comment with any questions. If you're in the DFW area and you'd like more information on swim lessons or swim team, be sure to visit www.sigmaswim.org.